sometimes decision-making can be one of the most important days of your life. Maybe a decision you've postponed, and now you understand the penalty of postponing that decision. You've got to do something, and finally you come to the conclusion, today is the day. I now decide. And whether you decide on a new direction, whether you decide on a refinement in philosophy, whether you decide to act when before you haven't acted, you decide on a series of things that you're going to do, you decide. Now that you've decided and you start making plans, it's incredible what can happen when finally what's in your head, what's in your imagination, now finally starts to take shape on paper. When I finally made the decision, yes, I was going to be part of the industry, yes, I was going to make it part of my marketing future, what was really exciting was when I sat down and started making plans. I started committing imagination and belief to paper. I started writing it down. I started, as we often do, drawing those circles. You know, what if I had 5? What if I had 10? And then when I had a concept of what that could bring for me, then I said, how can I reach the first 5? How can I reach the first 10? What could I do? However, you can make all the plans in the world, and it is a source of inspiration for only so long. And you can make one plan, and then you can make another plan. And you can make some plans today, and the next day you can make some more plans, and the next day you can make some more plans. And it is a very exciting source of inspiration, but only for a while. I'm sure we would all agree that making plans, that inspiration wouldn't last for a week. Now, that inspiration now must drive you getting started. Actually turning thought and the notes on the paper, the plans, actually now committing it to action, getting started. Guess what you can say when you begin a change in your diet? I'm on a new track. I have carved out for myself a new beginning. I'm on my way to the most incredible health. I will never be the same again. I'm leaving the old, undisciplined part of me. I'm leaving that behind. I'm a new person. I made my first, walk around the block that I'd thought about for so long and never did. I finally did it today. I've started. I have begun. You want to learn a new skill and you sign up for a class. Let's say you want to learn accounting or something, and you sign up for the class and you take the first class. You get started. You'd thought about it. You made some plans for it. You made some time for it. But there's nothing like sitting there in the class with the pen in your hand and the pad ready to take notes. Here I am. I'm starting on a new journey of learning. And many of you have already experienced it. I'm just asking you to begin something new in all the areas of your life. Maybe you've always thought about benevolence and you just haven't gotten started, or you haven't made the plans, or you haven't made the decision. I'm asking you to start taking that stuff now that's in your head, that imagination, which is very powerful. But then I'm asking you then to decide, use that inspiration. Then I'm asking you to make plans, begin to make plans, use that inspiration. And then if you take that first step, it can be the first step of an incredible journey. And when Mark had his first meeting, when Mark recruited his first distributor, when Mark got his first customer, his grandmother using the product, when Mark got that first few yeses from people, and he started the process, as simple as it was, from the trunk of his car, as crude as the literature was in the beginning, it was a start.
Some decisions are major decisions. And also there are a lot of small decisions that we don't make, that they tax our minds, they drain our energy, they create a lot of anxiety and nervousness and mental torment because we don't take care of it. We decide not to decide, which is a decision. Deciding to decide, to act, is a major, major challenge for all of us. at different points in different areas of our lives. And there are things that happen to us along the way, experiences that we have that prevent us from working through the mental block of acting, of doing those things that we know we ought to do. And so what I want you to think about is, what is there that you know you need to do, that you want to do this, but for some reason or another, you've been holding back. For some reason or another, you just have not been able to gather your nerves or be able to work through the procrastinating or putting it off or justifying or blaming. Some reason or another, you just haven't done it. And you know you ought to do this. You really want to do this, but you don't know why you haven't done it. Now, first of all, we know that this is not easy. Because in order to begin to reinvent your life, you've got to make a conscious, deliberate, determined effort. That you really have got to put all of yourself into it. It's very challenging to act, to do those things. There are times when you're looking at it and you say, I know I need to do this, but I don't feel like it. I don't want to do it. I know I need to do it, yet leave me alone. No, I don't want to do it. So what do?
This is one of the biggest of all challenges. It's procrastinating on starting on a major goal. And the way that you overcome it, one of many ways, is you break the goal down into as many small steps as you possibly can. You make a list of every single step that you're going to have to take to achieve the goal. From the first one of clearing your desk, or reading a chapter in a book, or making a phone call, or working out a financial plan. So what you do is you break it down into small enough steps. Henry Ford said the biggest tasks in the world can be accomplished if broken down into enough small steps. And once you've broken it down into enough small steps, just do one step. Say, now, of all of these steps, there are 5-minute, 10-minute steps. Of all of these steps, what would be a good place to start? And then you do just one thing. And maybe the next day you do just one more thing. And what happens within the mind is there's a natural momentum that once you get into the rhythm, you start to move forward. And pretty soon you're doing the next step and the next step and the next step and so on. I had a good friend who had for years wanted to write a business book. And he was working from 7 or 8 in the morning till 9 or 10 o'clock at night. He never had the energy to write it. So he finally said, I'm going to write this book, so I'm going to write it one page at a time. So he rescheduled his life, so he came home earlier, went to bed by 9 o'clock, got up at 5 o'clock, and wrote one page. That's all. By the end of the year, he had a 350-page book. And he published the book, and it became a great success. But it was just writing one page a day that enabled him to write a bestseller. Well, if you make a list, for example, I tell people for every task you have, you should make a list of everything you need to do. I'll give you an example that helped me recently. A gentleman came to me and said, he's tied up a piece of property. We could develop this. It's 13.3 acres into a combination shopping center and self-storage site. So he said, would I be interested? And I said, well, sure. I've done real estate development in the past. And the first thing I did after we had tied up the property and established a partnership, it was a good deal. I sat down and made a list of everything that would have to be done from the very beginning to the very end to have an open, fully leased shopping center and a fully built, leased out self-storage center. And it was 40 or 50 things. And it started off with getting different approvals from the Caltrans transportation, getting utilities, getting the land graded, getting approvals for architectural approvals. Especially it meant getting a agreement from a major tenant, a major supermarket to take the major space, because the city said we will approve the self-storage if you have a shopping center attached to it, but not alone. The key to the shopping center was the supermarket. The key to renting out all the other space was to have the supermarket and so on. So then we sat down and we just began to follow the list. One of the ideas on the list was to bring in a major developer with vastly more experience and contacts in shopping center development and carve off the self-storage for ourselves, do a partnership, a joint venture, and so on. So by the time we finished the list, we had done that. We had a major tenant. We had all approvals. We had road, we had transportation, sewer, utilities, highways, freeways, everything else. And the entire project is up and running on schedule. But if you look at it standing back, it's overwhelming. What you do is you make a list of everything that needs to be done. You select the most important thing on the list, the thing that you have to do before you do something else, and you start on that one task and you just work away at it like a force of erosion. You can do this with any day. Write down everything that you have to do in the course of the day on a list. Any goal, make a list of every step in the goal. Any plan you have, financial plan, retirement plan. Even if you want to write a book, what are all the things that you have to do in order to write and publish a book? And then you just start with one of those tasks.
You have to find an accountable partner. I mean, who wants to work out when it's cold or rainy? In fact, who wants to work out anyway? Find someone
will keep you honest by making you accountable by having a buddy. And the buddy says, wait a minute, you and I said we said we were gonna meet at 6 o'clock in the morning and I showed and you didn't. Come on. You said you were gonna be there. And when you announce to somebody else that you're gonna do something, you kind of make a commitment back and forth to a friend. So it's really important maybe not to try to do it alone, because by ourselves, I'm a great procrastinator. I was gonna go to the program, but I put it off.
I actually find 2 or 3 people who are willing to get together once a week, and they keep you honest because you're accountable to one another. So one of the best ways to get started is to make the announcement publicly that you're going to do it, and then have somebody who, instead of trying to say, I knew you couldn't do it, who keeps you saying, come on, you said you're going to do it, I'm going to hold you to it, and we're going to do this together.